Welcome back everybody to another episode of Max and Katie Build Cars. It is 2026, so Happy New Year. It is the 1st of January as I'm filming this now. Happy New Year everybody. I hope 2026 gives you everything and everything you've ever wanted. From the last episode we saw Katie finishing and dismantling this front subframe. It's my job now just to get the last few bits off this front subframe, and then with the help of my dad we're going to get the engine onto the workbench behind me and then start stripping the engine, which is, I must admit, as a newbie to this, it's one thing that I'm pretty excited about, pretty nervous about all at the same time, so we'll see how that goes. Let's get cracking.
To kick things off then, we need to remove the top arm. In order to remove the top arm there is a big bolt that runs all the way through. In order to get this bolt out we need to disconnect the two nuts, one at the front of the subframe, one at the rear of the subframe, which did put a little bit of a fight, but luckily they came off pretty easy.
So that main nut out of the way, straight away we can take this lock washer, that can come off, and then the next two bolts just to undo is these, and then this basically undoes this retaining plate. So once these are off, the plate should come straight out.
Well, straight out just isn't a thing with this Mini, is it? I think we've learned our lessons with that. So a little bit of brute force ain't gonna go amiss because we ain't keeping any of this. In saying that, I did manage to crack my nuts, but after that they just wouldn't budge.
Patience gone, so I'm gonna waz these straight off like this.
Even with the Dugger gun, there was zero movement from any of these nuts.
See, that guy's not coming off because just in there, as you can see, just that little bolt there, stopping it from coming off at the end here. Okay, so this retaining plate should now come sliding straight off like that, all bent and squashed. And this is the bolt that runs through the top arm. All you have to do, should be nice and greased up, which thankfully mine is. Gently slide it out. There's a big bolt through the middle removed. Now in the future what you see me do is I've got a repair kit for all these. I didn't know what state these were going to be in, so I just got new ones. I think it's just a good idea. These I think we can salvage and replace. But everything that goes through the middle here, I'm going to take out, polish up, repair, put it back together. Now, these should gently raise away. And there you go. That is on this side, the top arm removed. Okay, with that top arm removed, just going to remove the bottom arm, which the nut was already gone off the back. And this bolt is orientated at some point to a position where it can come out of that gap.
Before I moved on to manipulating the bolt out of the bottom of the subframe, I did try to get a flat blade screwdriver and try to remove the rubber bushings out of the lower arm in the hopes that this might make it a little bit easier to slide off, but went as well as you could expect.
Of course that's not working. So what I try and do is force this to go through this hole.
I orientated it to try and get it somewhere near. I use that tried and tested tradition when it comes to car mechanics or any kind of DIY work. Take a big hammer to it.
Now I'm not saying for 1 second that's how you do that. That's just how I did that. Basically to knock this through the hole, but you got to remember I'm not that bothered about getting it out. I'm not keeping this bit and I'm not keeping this subframe, so maybe sometimes just a bit of brute force, a bit of determination. Just get the job done. Once the new subframe comes, and we get all the new parts, the reason I want to keep the bottom arms and top arms is because there's actually nothing wrong with them, they're great. So I can save a bit of money by basically just cleaning these up, getting them ready, putting them on the new subframe once it's here. But that's one side done, all we have to do is repeat on the other side.
So same as the other side, a nut on the front, some on the back, a retaining plate, and then the big bolt through the middle slides out and you can remove top arm. Next step is to remove the rubber cones that make up the top of the suspension, or at least the bouncy bit of the suspension. But after years and years of being used and abused, these things were absolutely pancaked and completely wedged in the top of the subframe. So I made the hard choice.
Alright, well, I'm giving up with that. We've got a new subframe coming, which means we've got all new suspension coming and everything, and to be honest with how bad the front of this car has been, I think I've just sort of admitted defeat with a lot of things now. I'm just buying like all brand new parts pretty much. It is what it is. It's just, the nature of the beast with this car. Everything was so ruined on this front end, it's hard to keep some stuff. But thankfully, all the top arms and bottom arms that we managed to salvage, we managed to be able to keep. It looks like we're going to be able to keep the brake rotors. We'll see. Might change it to disc brakes, I'm not too sure yet. But for the most part, that is pretty much the front of this car done. Now for the fun bit. Kind of nervous about it. Never done it before, but with the help of my dad, I'm going to get the engine now onto the workbench at the back there. But right now, what I really want to do is finally say goodbye to this front subframe and stick it on the scrap pile. Finally, after weeks of work, even months, it's been months, literally months trying to sort out this front subframe. Finally we can say goodbye to it. I cannot wait to see this front subframe in this scrap pile. It's been a huge learning curve, don't get me wrong, but finally we can say goodbye to this god awful thing. It's taught us a lot of lessons, gotta give it some grace for that, but finally it gets to go on the scrap heap. That's a wrap on the subframe.
That subframe finally taken care of and living where it belongs, we can finally move on to the bit that I think is going to be the most fun part. The bit I'm most excited about at least, which is rebuilding our little mini engine. And what makes it very special for me is that I get to do the first bit with my dad. We start by getting the jack underneath the engine and lifting it to a relatively sensible height just so we can slide it up and onto the table. And wow, you can hear that table crack.
Nobody filming that though, was there?
There was.
Oh.
Yeah Dad, sorry about that, but your son just put you all over YouTube. This is so exciting for me, my first engine rebuild with my dad, so we start by taking off the rocker cover. So we decided to go with a bit of a divide and conquer approach to removing everything off this engine. The idea is to try and take off all the stuff off the outside of the block, and then we can remove the cylinder head, and then we can try and get to see the condition of the pistons and the cylinder walls. My dad's starting with taking off the thermostat. Now I'm going to make a start on removing all of the bits, anything associated with the clutch. To get this done, I start by removing the slave cylinder off the back of the engine. Meanwhile, my dad is taking a flat blade screwdriver and a hammer to the bottom of the thermostat housing that already has the bolts removed to gently try and pry it away from the top of the cylinder head.
I see why on the forums and stuff they try to replace a lot of bits with lightweight performance stuff. Heavy it always.
With that slave cylinder now removed, I can move on to removing the affectionately nicknamed WOC, which is the flywheel cover. It's just a series of bolts all around the edge which I'm going to undo one by one, and then the WOC should gently prise through with a little bit of persuasion, whilst my dad still hammers away at that thermostat cover, which is well and truly stuck to the top of the cylinder head.
Diaphragm, everything looks really good actually. Really good. Starting over there. We know that works. Flywheel looks in pretty good condition. Oh, that looks really nice. Uh-oh. Rebuilding a Mini Cooper. Rebuilding a Mini Cooper. That's really nice. I'm just slipping the engine. We managed to lift up there. That's put up the front of the frame.
Okay.
We're just trying to strip it down now.
With Katie home and all caught up, and now completely in awe of our mechanical skills and masculinity, my dad finally gets the thermostat housing removed, which means we can finally see what went on in there.
Really, that's it.
You got it?
With the thermostat housing removed on initial glance, you can kind of see it on the video here, but the news on the inside is not good.
Oh. Oh.
There's a lot of crud in here.
That's all crud crap from the coolant. They've used water and it's just rusted and
Actually, that's lime scale.
Do you need a new bit for that?
I've got a new one. I've got a new one.
We'll have to, I don't know if we do wash this engine out, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a flush, isn't it?
Definitely.
You like that also, don't you? It's all lime scale.
We're going to take the top head off.
Yeah, but we need to do it, so you need to do it in zigzag, so it goes from there to there,
Yeah.
to there, to there, to there, to there, to there.
Right. You're going to do them all the way or just slacken them off?
Slacken them off now, and then we'll prize it, and then it will ping off, and then we can take them off, and make sure.
But Dad's right, this engine is definitely going to have to go for a bit of a deep clean. But for now we're trying to remove the cylinder head, initially by taking off the bolts at the top which are really stuck on there.
Yours are right, just these on the engine are really tight.
Actually, I might not. Oh yeah, just bring them and then put them to like the end of the thread like that. That's a lot of them. Don't think I'll need the same setup.
Well, it's safe to say that this engine does have some pretty tight nuts, which is kind of to be expected on the cylinder head. These are usually torqued down on most engines, and ours have probably been in there for a million years, like everything else on this engine. But thankfully Dad is as strong as an ox, so he makes light work of cracking the rest of the nuts on the top of this engine. Once they're cracked open, they're pretty much only finger tight, so we can get them to the end of the threads, so that when we do remove the cylinder head, it doesn't come pinging off.
On paper, she should be ready.
Tap it from this end, there's more room with it.
Oh, no, I don't need to.
Right.
Alright, let's undo the nuts and she can come off.
Right.
Come on. Oh, nice.
If you do this yourself, be aware that some of the push rods might come out with a cylinder head, just like ours did. If you are planning on reusing the push rods, just make a note of where they went in the engine, so that when you do come to replace them, you put them back in the right order. It's always good to keep note of where things are going, and what I'm going to do now basically is explain to my dad exactly how we're going to do it.
Right, we'll take these out and start them. We've got a tray anywhere for them.
Just leave them in position. What I'll do is I'll get a piece of cardboard, I'll write cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4, and then make sure that these go back in the right place. Look at that, why is that so fully boiled?
It could be that because we've done what we've done.
Yeah, maybe more rings have gone from piston. But the cylinder walls look fantastic, don't they? There's no score marks, there's no...
No. I'll have to find the line.
Oh, the head gasket's gone, so that's going to come off. Points.
Yeah. The egg gasket's mixing oil, that colour of that egg gasket we're going to, it's starting to mix. Yeah.
Look at, that's where the water comes in.
Yeah.
It gets pushed in through there and then cycles
Clogged
from there.
up. You'll have to clean that out
Look at
somehow.
that.
Clean that out somehow, Max.
Well, do you know what? What a result. Because look at how clean these cylinders are. You say it's done 90,000 kilometres.
Okay, so main observations after we've removed the cylinder head. The head itself looks really, really nice, but the main issue seems to be some sort of foul up with the water system. You can see here where, because the head gasket's gone, the water system has started to mix with the oil and corrode up. But overall, the block itself looks really good. This needs a clean up. Maybe I have to clean up the water pump as well. And the only worrying thing is in cylinder 3, it's just as clean as the others, but apart from the top of the piston, it seems to be riding in oil. So I reckon the rings have gone. But apart from that, it's a pretty good looking engine.
Overall, considering how old this engine is, it's actually looking in pretty good shape. The oil in the top of cylinder 3 is either coming from the fact that the head gasket might have gone, or maybe the rings from around the piston might be a bit too worn out and oil is leaking up the side. But thankfully we're doing a full engine rebuild, so all of these things are going to be replaced. Last thing to come off today then was the oil filter housing, which didn't actually put up that much of a fight to come off. Pretty easy to remove, just 2 bolts. And that's the last of our jobs for today done. But when we return back, that's when disaster really struck.
Alright guys, another day, another problem with the Mini. This one maybe is a doing of our own, I'm not sure. You know, this being amateurs at this, yeah, it gets hard, and I'll show you why it gets hard. And one of the reasons why it's so tough is because, yeah, we don't know what we're doing, and hindsight is a wonderful thing, but yet another thing has gone wrong. Came home, we've been back in the UK just for a bit of a holiday, and I thought everything would be safe and secure, and it is, don't get me wrong, it is, but I guess we've had a minor technical issue is what I'm going to call it, and this is what I came home to. So, pile of scrap, still alright. Workbench that we sprayed, still alright. However, the second workbench that had the engine on it, some would say there's been a slight issue with the structural integrity of the table I decided to use. So, our relatively heavy engine is in the wrong position, is the nice way I'm going to say it. I can't wait to flip it over and see what damage that's done. Looks like I'm going to need a new table though, to say the least. But luckily, did check the back of the car, and at least, I mean, it must have only missed by centimetres, but it missed. Thankfully no damage. Just looks like there's a little scrape there. So I think I got away with that one. The joys of being absolute amateurs.
So what actually happened? Well, it seems while we were on holiday, at some point we've had some rain that has collected onto the roof and started to leak through. That's then dripped onto the table where the engine was, which as it turns out was made of cardboard. That water is then collected beneath the table, softened it, and with the weight of the engine on the softened table, it simply couldn't take it anymore and has evidently cracked, ripped apart, broken, and the engine went for a little bit of a tumble.
So I'll just show you this. Oh man. That's sheared. This bad boy took a hit. It must have fallen forward and like landed like bang right on its head like that. And snap. At least these guys, you can tell these guys are strong because they just saved my engine, I think. This is the final state of the engine. Now, before we left for the UK, I had the wise idea just to leave these in, just because I couldn't get them out anyway. But it looks like these bad boys have taken the brunt of the impact when the car's fallen forward. And you can see, jeez. And here, look, smashed into there, isn't it? And that one's sheared and disappeared. The rest of the cylinder head, not the cylinder head, sorry, the block, the engine block. That one's pretty bent as well. I don't know if you can, oh yeah, you can. Oh. And because this has been overturned, I don't know how long, it's all wet with all sorts of weird stuff, water. I think water must have got in here now. That's even just started to prise off, so I don't know what's going on there. Casing looks alright. This guy, hopefully I might just replace this because they're cheap anyway, just to make sure. Now it's been now it's done a front flip. Got a slight scratch on the bumper here. That is what it is. At least it missed. I mean, it did well just to only just catch there and go down. Thankfully there's no damage on the back of the car, so that's a big result. The rest of the engine looks okay. The only thing that's a bit worrying is it looks like it might have hit on this diaphragm here
and I don't think the starter motor I might have got away with that one. Yeah, what a shame. But these things happen. Maybe I can get away with convincing Katie that we need to do a full engine swap now. But somehow our new oil stick managed to miss. But I think these guys these three took the brawn of the impact, so here's what it is. Let's get cleaned up. You can agree that we definitely got off lightly there, and Katie was definitely not convinced about me putting a V8 in the back of the car. Can't really let this engine hold us back, so there's only one thing really left to say, which is be re, and let's crack on with getting this engine stripped down.
Okay, hopefully this is proof that I know how to learn from my mistakes. That turbo wasn't adequate, wasn't up to strength to be able to hold something like this, and then the second that the water got on it, all collapsed. Here's what it is, it's a learning curve. You probably see a little bit of damage just on the end of the fuel pump here. That is because as the engine fell, it looks like it's rotated forward in this direction, landed on these bolts and then landed on the fuel pump, which thankfully I think has protected the face of the engine, because, you know, it still needs cleaning, but just a quick look, it looks like nothing really impacted the face of the engine, which is good. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just keep disconnecting the accessories off the outside, getting ready to try and split this engine apart. So let's go.
To start then, we're removing the breather plate off the back of the engine, which reveals a little surprise.
Yes, as we know, the engine did take a tumble. Just taking the, I think these are the breather caps, or the caps just for the back of the engine. Just taking that off. And these guys, which go at the bottom of the push rods, they're all about on top of the engine here. Not where they're meant to be. Let's just say that.
So as I remove all these at the back of the engine, I can't help but think, I wonder what else has gone wrong inside this engine that we've yet to find after its fall.
These are like, I think these are meant to be on like really tight. These pops off super easy.
I wonder if that plate became so loose because at some point the engine decided to do a backflip.
Okay, so that's all 8 of these out. Just of their own accord from when the engine fell off. Never mind, at least that's one job done for now. Let's move on to the next one. Right, today, back on the engine. Managed to get a couple bits off the last time. Then we had to go out and stuff like that. So back now, we're gonna take off the fuel pump, we're going to take off the water pump, we've got a distributor to remove, and the starter motor to remove, and that's all the sort of accessories and things from the outside done with the engine. Then it's just a case of the box and the gearbox itself. I am just waiting from the UK, just waiting for the bits that I need to pull off the clutch and the clutch housing and everything. I mean, this diaphragm will come off, but then I can't take the flywheel out without flywheel puller, clutch puller, whatever you want to call it. So once those bits are done, that's it for now. And then part 2, we'll be stripping all the engine back to its bare components. So let's get cracking. I got the new socket with the end of one over there. So now I can cheat and be lazy and use this bad boy. Ha! Yes! Use a digger for everything now. First thing to come off then, gonna get this water pump off. This should hopefully come loose. They're all different sizes, of course they are. Why would they not be? And what I'm doing again, removing the bolts and then putting them, I'll put them back in place so we know where the bolts go for when the new water pump gets here. Let's try and get these ones off now.
And to get those off, it's pretty simple, just 4 or 5 bolts all around the edge.
Love that smell. Right, so this should now only be held on by a gasket, I think. Unless I'm wrong. There we go. Look at the nasty in there.
Like we said earlier in the video, it's definitely going to need a clean.
Right, so this is the old water pump. I have ordered a new one to come. You can see the level of, this is effectively lime scale from when somebody's used water in the coolant system.
We did see earlier in the video that a lot of the water channels were pretty bad on this engine. Thankfully, I did think ahead and I have ordered a new water pump for our little engine. Right, Katie's turn.
Okay, I'm gonna get the starter motor off. So there's one bolt at the top, one bolt underneath, and then that should just come off.
Katie was using all her strength, but that bolt would not budge.
Nope. So we're just gonna leave the WD-40 to just melt in there. I'm gonna get this off. So
Distributor.
Distributor.
Do you know what it does?
No.
It spins round and connects to, so this thing spins and connects to the bottom of the HT leads, which then sends the sparks to the spark plugs, which then fires the pistons.
After deciding that the distributor was in the way then, we undo the bolts that hold it to the front of the car. With a few twists with the wrist, the distributor quite easily slides out from within inside the engine.
There you go. That is the distributor out.
Extensions on extensions. Gives a smile. The size of that. I mean, it'll get the job done. Whoa. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd need smaller.
You need to learn to put your shit back in the right place. Oh, didn't know you were
Just
recording.
always.
Yeah, sorry, I am quite bad for that. But now Katie has every single extension we have available to us. She makes light work of removing the starter motor.
That is our starter motor. Out.
Right, next job. She's going to spin this around. Is going to get this fuel pump off now. And there's really no need to swap this. It's been working great for us so far. So all I'm going to do is disconnect it. Then at some point, get it cleaned up, nice and clean. In my opinion, I know they cost a couple of horsepower, but these are super easy to maintain, super easy to work on, they last forever. So literally, just go and pull it out of the engine block now, clean it up, done, finished, don't need to do anything else.
And to be fair, even removing it was super easy. Just a bolt either side and a gentle pull, being careful not to pull off the little arm at the back. The fuel pump gently came free.
Right, and this is the fuel pump off. You see how it works, it's sort of, something runs against there, taps. There's a little diaphragm inside. It bounces up and down every time it taps. And that's what creates a suction in to the fuel pump and pushes it back out on the fuel pump. And that's it, and lives in there. And that's a little gasket for the back of it. Big chunky gasket. Cool little design, isn't it? So it's just a case of cleaning this up. And it can go back into the engine, no problem. Happy days. Right, so next up, we're just gonna take this off, and then that's gonna be it for today, because everything else that I need in order to strip this engine basically is all in the UK waiting to be brought here. So for this, it's just a case of taking these 3 bolts out, and then all this housing can come off. Nah, problem.
Slight issue there.
Okay, different way. Alright.
That's better.
In order to stop the flywheel from turning every time I was trying to loosen the bolt, all I did was get something long, thin and metal to wedge in between the teeth and the housing, and that just stops it from spinning.
I don't think these have to come off in a particular order. I didn't read that they needed to or anything.
Comment if you think they need to, but by the point of you watching this, it's probably too late.
Way too late.
Yes, let us know down in the comments section. I'm not sure if you do actually have to take it off in a particular order, but when it comes to refitting one, I'll definitely do some research before building it back up.
Yes!
The diaphragm itself is super easy to remove, just 3 bolts and it separates away from the flywheel.
Nice! There's a big nut that eventually you're going to need a massive breaker bar for, which I don't have. And then what I'm going to have to do is, I have to get I think it's called a flywheel puller, and it's literally just a thing that goes on the end of the flywheel, and it's like 3 bolts that sit on like that, and another bolt which goes through those 3 bolts into the middle. You push the middle bolt, the 3 bolts pull, so they work opposites to each other, and that pulls the flywheel out. And that's what I'm waiting for from the UK.
It is a shame that I won't be able to remove the flywheel in this video, but let's move on.
Next thing to come off, I'm going to take this housing off, which just covers the timing chain. First job to do is to take this nut off, which nice big chunky socket goes on, and then that just comes out. Nice big chunky bolt. That, I have to get a new one. Get off, and then that just gently comes off. Just like that. Looks alright. And then we just got to do these 600,000 million bolts to take all this cover off. Never ever use the same size bolt twice. I'm guessing that's how they repaired it last time, because every single one of these bolts, just from looking at by eye, is a different size. Now, I don't know if it's meant to be like that. I wouldn't have thought it's meant to be like that, but they're all even different shapes, different sizes. So let's see how this goes.
I'm not sure if it's actually meant to be like that on the timing cover, but I must admit it was very, very painful having to go around constantly changing sockets to get all the different size nuts off. When it goes back together, I will be trying to use the same size nut all the way around, but let me know in the comments if it's meant to be like this or if this is just a really bad botched job. But here we are, one by one, we do manage to get off all the nuts in the end, and then the cover itself, it was quite easy to prise off. With a gentle bit of persuasion, it did pry free pretty easily.
This cover about ready to come off. I don't think I missed any bolts.
No, I can't see you missed any.
Right, let me just get my crunch. Gently pry this away then.
It's peeling.
Just gently. Got to go crazy. There we go.
Wow, look at that.
So this is the chain, which looks like it's had some work to it already. If I just try and find a way to turn. No, okay. You can see where somebody's been at this already. There's some impact marks there. Bits here have been glued on, so I think because of the car being in the Middle East, they've not had the right chain. Made a chain and then stuck it together with these bits. So I think when it comes to rebuilding the engine, it's going to need a new one of them, and just to be safe I might get a new timing gear and timing chain. Might be able to unfasten that and then take these 2 bits off. But look at how beaten that up that is.
So beaten up.
I think
Looks like they've hammered it.
well, what you do normally is when it comes to putting these on, is you tighten the bolt down and then you bend these edges up to cover the edges of the bolt. I guess to either change this or change the chain or something like that. They've gone at this with a punch, punched it down, all these sides flat, and then basically destroyed the edges of these. So I'm going to need a new bolt, I can't remember the name of these, I think they're washers. And then just to be safe, because of these bits here, new chain. But the sprockets, the gears themselves look alright. I mean, the teeth look great, they don't look worn down or anything. Let's get this off and then see what the true damage is once it's off. I've not got high hopes for this bolt because of how damaged it's already been by somebody. I'm going to try and whiz it off. Let's just see how this goes. Just got to go for it.
Just gotta go for it.
Go for it. Because it's not even sitting on there properly with that. Ready? Yeah, nah mate. I think that'll work. Oh.
Oh yeah, you definitely got some movement there.
Yes. Right. What do you think? New one? You need a new one of them, do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go with a new one. Right, all this timing chain now should come off just gently together. Like that. There you go. Nice. So looking at these, to be fair,
All these teeth look absolutely fantastic. They're not worn down at the end or anything. The plate itself looks really clean, really nice. Definitely think we can reuse that. Same with this. The teeth are nice, even, they don't look like they've been ground down or anything like that. And the chain, my worry with the chain is these glue points. So I think with the glue points, I think they've done that as a bit of a patch repair maybe. And I think these are so inexpensive anyway. You can see it sort of hold its strength though. But these are so expensive anyway, inexpensive, that it might be worth just to replace this anyway. At least then you've got peace of mind, if nothing else. So with those bits off, realistically that's the last things we can do to this engine till I get that flywheel puller out. So for now, that's part 1 of the engine strip down done. Join us for part 2, hopefully in a few weeks time we can get that posted. But join us for part 2, where we're going to try and finish stripping the rest of this engine and gearbox. Thank you all so much for watching. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, it helps us out so much, and we'll catch you in part 2 where we finally get this engine and gearbox stripped.